after the UK and back in Australia, and I went to George Columbaris and then Neil Perry. After that, it might have been that was like the time when the new Puree scene came out.
Fuck yeah.
When I'm just doing.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. Yeah.
And it was like, and it had so I know what.
Yeah.
The blob, and then that had like a line through it from, and then you would trickle off.
Just pulling it through. Yeah.
And there was dudes that built their career.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like pea puree, one of those.
Yeah.
You know, and then like a lamb shoulder, like rolled and braised or something, and then whatever else is going on.
Yeah.
Olive crumb and different things.
Oh, I think I've made that dish. That's like exactly what it is. Because when you come out of the oven, you fucking roll it hot.
Yeah.
You just make a million logs. That was the other thing. It was just all rolled everything. Rolled logs, rolled. Just
Ballotines?
Everything was in a cylinder.
And I was good. I was very good.
Yeah, you couldn't not be. That's what I didn't get about people that weren't that good at it. You're like, can you roll this? You know, and then they'd roll 100 of them, and they're never quite tight. You're like, what are you doing?
I would get irate. You know, when you look in the Bain Marie, and it's like the edges of them.
Yeah, they weren't all the same. Yeah,
leave.
Yeah,
get out of here.
Because I think once you've done a few, that's all you need to do. In my head, and that's what you do. You do one, you go, fuck, that was a bit weird. Yeah. And then the second one, you go, oh, that's it. And then from then on, you're good.
Yeah.
When people just can't do that, like, did you not see? Or they're like, they've put them in there and they've set bendy or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Why? How? What did you think that was?
And I'd even go all the way to, so when I did my tie,
made people cry.
I'm scissoring all the outer little edge thing.
Yeah.
So when I do my tie and that comes off, I'm cutting those all the same.
Yeah.
All everything is exactly the same. And that's when I reckon you get that psycho chef. That's where, you know, the good chefs. Yeah. They got that little psycho bit in them. Like, that's not necessary. It's not a thing. But you're like so intense about everything being perfect.
Yeah, but exactly. And that's why the food is so perfect too. Because everything you're doing is perfect. I used to even, at the end, I never used to even time to a point. I had the thing where I would, but I had it perfect where it wouldn't bunch up. I just with my hands really slowly move it down, and it would all pigtail up, and just put the perfect. And then you try and show someone how to do it, and they just keep rolling till it stops, and you're like, no,
and
you got to have some. You got to look at it a little bit. Yeah. So I had a little thing where people couldn't get how that bit worked, like. And it was one of those things that I don't think half the people even wanted to ask me.
I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'd have to tie it off.
Yeah, but it's just I don't care either. You do you. But I if I ever saw those big long strands and there's no cut off, you're dead to me.
Yeah, I hate it.
So dead to me.
Which is,
actually, unless you were like steaming something or something, I would obviously have to tie it up. Or
I was just thinking when you're like doing this little pigtail and then someone's poaching them off. And then
just it's happened before. It's happened before. I was like, well, okay.
Debauchery.
Yeah.
And now that's your fault, brother.
Yeah. But then you could just vac pack them like that anyway.
Yeah.
The little piggies would stay.
Now we're sous vide. Now we're back to sous vide again.
Yeah.
I know. And that's what really frustrated me though, because I was sort of like coming out of chefing and kind of getting into like farming, and it was so the Chef's Table, we might have talked about this before. Chef's Table had this guy called Dan Barber or Baker. I can't remember. And he had a farm to table fine dining restaurant on the first season.
Yeah, I remember.
And it like clicked my brain a bit where I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Like he put the radishes on the nails. We've talked about this at some point. And
I don't think
people ate the radish and they were like, "Wow, blown away."
Yeah,
And that wasn't the best bit, but like, so I was like moving in that direction with those guys, saying like produce is king, and we got to, as chefs, we got to look after more of our farmers and different things.
Yeah.
At the same time that people kept vac packing and sous vide.
Yeah.
And they were individually vac packing. But they were like glad wrapping, whatever.
Yeah.
And then vac packing it and then cooking it in, a sous vide.
Fucking hours. Yeah.
And then cutting all that. And like the bins just ended up being full of plastic.
Yeah. There were days where all I did was vac pack stuff.